Now it doesn't necessarily warrant all this attention. But I want to expand this out to my panel and Tracy, to what Adam was saying, that the media, if anything, was late to this story and is only playing catch-up.
But do we blame the media for the fact that the government can't handle it properly right now? No.
Don't get accusatory. I'm just asking.
I feel like that,
I'm down.
but that's where this is going, right? That, well, it was the media's fault. They didn't bring it to our attention, and therefore that's why the government's late to the party. They can't play that card, I don't think.
Is that what you're saying?
Not really. I think if anything, the government.
You want to start a fight with.
Well, I don't want to have a fight with the other guest, but the government is part of the problem with the coverage of the story, because the government.
Because they're all over the map.
Well, exactly. Well, exactly. And
be calm, don't worry. I just get nervous when everyone tells me to be calm. I was calm.
Well, exactly. They issue statements, but they don't issue facts. And journalism is about facts. And when you're issuing statements about not worrying, our skeptical society immediately says we better start worrying.
You've been worrying before a lot of people.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, it reminds me, I hate to bring it up, this is painful, but 9/11, when the workers were told to stay at their seats, right? And it makes people question authority, and they don't want to have to question authority. Naturally, human beings, I think, want to trust. But, you know, to blame the media, I think, is wrong. Because, listen, you're right. The government officials were out there saying, we're in control, everything's okay, we're handling the situation. And also, ISIS was breaking out, Russia, Ukraine, tensions were heating up, we had the World Cup. And so, you know, when the journalists went in there trying to find out what was going on, the public health officials from other countries were also doing the same thing, you know, tamping down the story.
You know, Hadley, the bottom line was the government botched its initial response, had to change its response. That's not unusual, but at times of crises, it's hardly reassuring. So the media seizes on that, I guess, and says, be afraid, be very afraid, because whatever you're told today will change tomorrow. And by and large, that's been right. That's been accurate.
You know, and I agree with Adam that it's not so much a question of how much news coverage, but the quality of news coverage, because Americans watch TV a lot. We get a lot of information from news media, all different sources, and it seems sometimes that we read about the different things that are going on in the world, we're bouncing from crisis to crisis. And maybe we're becoming desensitized to that in some sense, but we're also not sure as news consumers if we should be alarmed or not. And that's really the trouble, because we want factual information, maybe less commentary, less speculation, and more focus on what we can do to you know, keep ourselves and our families safe, and how alarmed we should be or not.
It's a 70% mortality rate. That's all you got to know. And the thing is, I'm so tired.
Africa.
I know. I am so tired of our 1 or 2 nurses being treated like rounding errors, like they are the health infrastructure. They are human beings who are put at risk, and our airline workers
needlessly put at risk.
Needlessly put at work, and so are our airline workers as well.
But we still don't know, do we? You know, like the kids are learning about this in school now. Are the teachers teaching them the right thing? Like, are the kids going to come home and want to lock themselves in their rooms because they're afraid to go out? Because we still are not getting definitive answers, facts from the government on how you can get this thing and how you protect yourself from it.
But, you know, Adam, you were mentioning the media and how learned it gets to be on covering a crisis, because they do get up to speed, as you and I can remember how AIDS became full-blown after Rock Hudson.
Yes.
But it would have been festering for years prior to that. But he put a face to it and made it a big galvanizing cost. But I'm wondering what it's going to take here. If it doesn't go beyond this, I suspect it probably will go beyond this. Then what does the media do? How does the media play this?
You mean you think there's going to be more of an outbreak here?
Yes, I do.
You do? Well, I think that's what it will take. And I think one of the issues with the public is that we have a lot of experience, unfortunately, with terrorist attacks and other more natural tragedies, such as, you know, tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes. But we have very little experience here with epidemics. I think we just, frankly, a lot of people, their frames of reference are probably movies where a pathogen gets loose from a laboratory and suddenly, you know, whole towns are being wiped out or quarantined.
I think you didn't see the latest Planet of the Apes. I mean, that's
exactly
pretty much what happened.
So I think that's there's a great deal of unfamiliarity with an epidemic and how it works, and I think that's always
the cause of fear. But the facts matter. Listen, last week Liberia released a document saying over the next 6 months it will need more than 84,000 body bags. That's what it's estimating. We don't know if they're overestimating or underestimating it.
You're saying you can't contain something like that.
For one country alone, Liberia is saying this.
But your point is it's Africa.
Yes, and frankly, I think that's where the story is. I think that's where the U.S. ought to be putting a lot of its efforts. I think we should be helping those poor people over there.
3,000, 4,000 troops there. It's a
well, and I think we should do more. I mean, if it's possible.
You don't think it's going to be a big deal here?
I wouldn't know. I'm not an expert on pathogens and how they spread.
Well, it's okay. I play one on TV.
Well, exactly.
But you don't think that it escalates to the point of being that the media seems to be obsessing too much now?
When I watch the coverage, I'm wondering all the time what's going on in Africa. These are the people who are suffering the most. I think the world should get together and help and isolate the problem over there as best as we can. I think that's ground zero for the problem. Not
ground
here.
Zero for me, and I love you to death, is that the media keeps telling us, or the government keeps telling us not to worry, not to worry. Yet early on, sends 3,000 troops there, says there's not going to be a czar, then suddenly there is a czar, says it has full faith in the CDC, then apparently it doesn't have full faith in the CDC, says skin can be exposed in some hazmat suits, then swears on a stack of Bibles, don't expose any skin in hazmat suits. They're inconsistent. They're all over the map.
Well, it's true. We don't know from the media coverage if somebody sneezes behind you in an airplane if you're going to get Ebola. I mean, I don't really know. There was
really?
I've seen, so be careful.
All right, guys, thank you all. When we come back, you ever wonder where